I'd like to thank the lovely people of Stoke for hosting me last night when I went down near Weston-super-Mare to give a nice talk to all these wonderful awake people. And apart from feeding me butcher's faggots and talking like that down there in the West Country, we had a lovely time. So thank you so much to all of those. Meanwhile, back to the monologue. And have you noticed, it's very interesting, isn't it, that we've seen these fires. Oh my goodness, the planet is warming up. We've seen these fires. I've been a bit slow to the party on this one because I don't have mainstream media pumped into my house, warping my brain and convincing me that man-made global warming has caused these fires in Greece. Because if I had, I would have seen that BBC correspondent who was flown over, although apparently that was denied, although there are pictures of him coming back with the tags, the airport tags dangling from his backpack. But yes, there he was over there in some of the islands in Greece going, man-made global warming has warmed all this up, these fires. Because luckily, having my head above the parapet here on YouTube, people get in touch with me and they say, Richard, have you seen all this nonsense about the fires? I live in Greece, I live on these islands. This is all done by arsons. We have this every time. There's all these olive groves. And olive, you know, think of it, olive oil. It's probably heated up to the right temperature, very inflammable. And yes, it's arsonists who are doing this, not man-made global warming. But they do like that narrative. So there's things that they want to talk about, and then there's, of course, those things they don't want to talk about, you know, like the many diverted aeroplanes at the moment. A friend of mine got in touch, he flies quite a bit, and he says, I keep seeing these diverted aeroplanes. Why would an aeroplane divert from its destination? Well, of course, there's usually two reasons. One would be mechanical failure, and the other would be probably a medical problem on board with somebody in the aeroplane, naturally. And so you'd have to divert to the nearest place so you can offload that passenger and they can get to a hospital. And he said it's very unusual because it's not often it's a mechanical problem, because obviously aeroplanes are looked after incredibly well, all these checks. So there might be a few, but he said in increasingly the last couple of years, specifically at the moment, there seems to be diversions left, right and centre. And so he says he wonders, you know, could you put the dots together and wonder what happened perhaps a couple of years ago that might affect people maybe at a certain height, that sort of brings on a certain condition, I don't know, with perhaps a medical intervention that they've had, which gives maybe problems. Health problems, a medical emergency that they have to divert for. And he also then said, he said, I don't know if you've noticed, there's a lot of reports as well of people going on holiday, going into the beach and swimming and dying in the ocean, usually men of about 40 years old. Now, I can't verify that. I haven't seen those things, but he said he's seen them, and he's a friend of mine. I don't suppose he's making it all up. And I'd be interested if you've seen any of these things that are probably not in the mainstream media because they don't want to talk about all these sudden mysterious collapses of people whose hearts stop working, people whose hearts having a terrible time going because they may have had some medical treatment given to them or mandated to them or persuaded to have, which perhaps they shouldn't. And I'd be interested because we keep getting the stories they want us to know about, like the man-made global warming. I mean, I don't know whether you remember, is it last year or the year before? We had a year in which they said, oh my goodness, in England, there was 42 degrees. It was only one day, but we had 42 degrees. And there's me thinking, oh, lovely, a nice British summer. Thank goodness for that. And it was, I think it was in August, 42 degrees. I thought to myself, why are they making a big deal about this on the mainstream media with pictures in red of burning towns and oh, this building has blown up and this has caught fire and all of this? And yet it was only one day of 42 degrees in August. If it had been 42 degrees in December or February, I think I would be concerned because that is unusual. But having hot weather in the summer, having hot weather in summer countries where they're nearer the equator is a bit daft. And also, I was told actually it's a bit cooler the normal, and yet the mainstream media are desperately trying to sell this narrative that it's man-made global warming. I think really and truly they're pretty much now, them and the government, and looking more and more isolated, trying desperately to sell this myth that we've had so many years now of people going, oh yes, the oceans are flooding, the ice caps are going, and we're sort of getting a bit bored, aren't we? I mean, we're just sort of looking out of the window and going, actually, where is all of this? Where are all of this? Yes, arson goes on all the time in the Greek islands. People do that just for a bit of a laugh. But I want to see the tide coming up where I live, and I will believe it. But in the meantime, it just seems to me to be a whole load of phooey. But the main stories they're not talking about: aeroplanes diverting, people collapsing all the time. I know from where I live, because I live near a hospital, that the increase in ambulances that pass my door in the last couple of years has been palpable. I mean, you could stand there like a train spotter and go and collect all the number plates of the and the frequency of the ambulances, because they're up and down there like a yo-yo, in and out and in and out and in and out, and the blue lights all over the place. I don't know if there's a plan actually to make town life a bit more noisy than ever, because it seems even in the dead of night you'll hear the sirens going off, waking you up, telling you that more people are using the NHS, the good old lovely NHS, the same place that didn't want to see you during a certain pandemic and told you to stay at home and only come in if you were blue in the face and actually couldn't breathe. But if you did come in, they would give you some sort of medical intervention which almost guaranteed that you would be turning up again in one of those ambulances screaming in the middle of the night. The world is upside down. And I don't know what we can do about it, but we can certainly resist and not believe all the nonsense you hear in the mainstream media.